Welcome back, everyone. Today we're covering the patch notes for the upcoming Season 13 Battle Pass, Purge Your Sin. There are some major changes in these notes. We'll go ahead and get started with them. First off, there will be class balancing and legendary item balancing as well, and these are all going to affect every class across the board. Not a single class is going unchanged. First in the notes is the Helliquary Gauntlet, and this seems to feature all of the existing Helliquary bosses. There's no mention of new ones being added. However, the Gauntlet will begin once you defeat Catarag on H8, and this gauntlet allows you to just face one boss after another. There's a leaderboard, there's rewards, there's even a portrait for players that manage to find the top 10 on the server, and this is each week. So this is just an additional Helliquary event being added permanently, which is nice to see something like this going in. Helliquary raids themselves have been updated in two ways. When a player dies, there's now an increasing timer for the next resurrection. And also the Helliquary boss will now emit a damaging pulse, which scales in damage. So these are just things that are being added to prevent players from chain rezzing and just staying alive through the enrage phase, which is possible on certain bosses. And we get started here on the class balancing now. First, reduction of incoming damage for ranged classes. Demon Hunter, Necro, and Wizard will now have a 15% damage reduction. The melee classes Barb, Crusader, and Monk already have a 30%, and that will remain. Barbarians, and I'll just go ahead and read some of the more important or more dramatic ones. Undying Rage duration has been decreased from 4.75 seconds to 4 seconds, and the healing received from damaging players decreased from 30% to 15%. A direct nerf to Barbarians in PvP. Top of that, Sundered Legacy, Wrath of the Berserkers burn damage has been reduced. Now, this burn does do substantial damage for higher resonance players. It's not quite as effective for lower resonance players. It's very potent because it actually can be used and kept up while you're CC'd, which is what makes it so useful for the Barbarians. They put the fire aura up, they charge in, and then no matter what happens to them, if anybody's near them, they're still dealing damage out. And there is no mention of Banquet of Eyes being nerfed. So the 6-piece Banquet of Eyes will deal large damage over a few seconds to players that are affected by continual damage effects, such as Sundered Legacy's essence here. So that will still be unchanged, meaning that even if your Sundered Legacy did 1 damage, the 6-piece proc will still go off, and you'll most likely still see kills from this combo, at least in PvP. For Crusaders, Adamant Lash, Spinning Shield, will now be unable to stun the same player more than once every second. Currently, there is no cooldown for this, so you can just layer it on top of itself. Makes it very effective for crowd controlling groups of melee. I personally use this combo between this and Ardent Shepherd a lot. It's a main hand, offhand combo. Now, this is getting a nerf. You'll have to be timing it much more effectively in order for it to be efficient. Another thing of note here is that the delay between Sacred Chain's explosion has been reduced from 2 to 1.5 seconds. I believe this will also affect the frozen chains, and that will also kind of be a buff. So Crusader's getting balanced in multiple ways here, as well as some additional changes to Shield Charge as well. I don't play Shield Charge too much, so can't tell you how that's really going to play out in the grand scheme of things, but I know that Shield Charge in general is popular of players at varying resonances. Demon Hunters, and I do want to mention here that Demon Hunters are not receiving any nerfs. Demon Hunters are only getting buffs. So Demon Hunters are getting reduction for knife trap, arming time, knockback shot getting a cooldown reduction. This is huge in the current meta. And Strafe allows for a potential channeling time increase to 5 seconds now. Strafe's damage has also been increased for another essence. Nothing but buffs for them. Monk legendary items. Most popular one that people are probably going to want to talk about is Wave of Light's damage has been decreased. This is the Shimmerlin build as we all know it, and that's the name of the essence for that alters Wave of Light in this case. And subsequent hits on the same enemy have also been reduced from 30 to 25%. So Shimmerlin overall is going to do less damage and do less damage with multiple hits. So this is a direct nerf to that build. Maybe we'll see the return to some more traditional monk builds. And this will be interesting. In conjunction with, say, Necros getting a damage reduction, it's possible that Necromancers may start to be able to survive some of the Monk burst. Doesn't mean that they'll necessarily win the 1v1, but they may be able to survive and get away, and that will certainly shift things in the current meta, but we will see over the next few days. Necromancers Corpse explosion. Enemies struck by multiple simultaneous explosions now take 30% cumulatively reduced damage for each additional hit instead of the previous 40. Now, 30% cumulatively reduced damage instead of 40 means that this is actually a buff. They're actually going to be taking 10% more damage from this explosion. There are a couple of corpse explosion builds floating around since the latest set of essences. Grim's Heath is just getting a buff as well, generating 3 corpses instead of 2, most likely to be used in conjunction with this corpse explosion combo. Wizards also getting buffs. I don't see any nerfs here as well for the Wizard. Disintegrate cooldown being reduced, Ice Armor damage being increased, Ray of Frost cooldown being reduced, Ray of Frost damage being increased, Ice Armor damage being increased. Nothing but buffs here. Demon Hunter and Wizard both getting buffs, all other classes essentially getting some nerfs, and as a package we're just calling it all balancing. The Cursed Towers, after receiving some feedback around 1 tower bonus, and this is obviously going to be the PvP tower, the 20% increase to PvP damage provided by the Tower of Fortitude will be replaced with a bonus that provides 10% increase to life in the Battleground, Challenge of the Immortal, Rite of Exile, and Shadow War. You will no longer get a damage buff, you will instead get a life boost. Additionally, the pickup radius shards in PvE has been increased. There's a lot of people that actually just wish this was automatic. I get a lot of feedback for that. But getting an increased radius, I think, is a good balance to start. Things can always be changed in the future. And for what it's worth, I think that they should require being picked up. However, I think that you do actually have to get fairly close. So I kind of like to see that change myself. Battleground Q cancellation penalty, iteration. And this is just being adjusted. Now it's going to increase upon each offense up to a maximum of 20 minutes. And nice to see change. And I always mention this. Love to see when things get adjusted if they're not perfect. So obviously people are still canceling intentionally, and this increase in the delay in which they'll be able to queue again is great. Activity calendar getting some changes. Displays in the cosmetic inventory. View equipped cosmetics on others. That's a nice feature. Erratic Bestiary is actually getting a buff here. Chance of getting a new Bestiary page is increased for the first time each day. Excuse me, I'll scroll up here. So just the first time that you turn in, you have a larger chance. Doesn't say how much larger, but you'll have a larger chance to get a new page. Hopefully help some people fill those out. I know I'm still missing, I think, like 7 of them, and I farm at least 3 books every single day. Season 13 Battle Pass. You get a preview of the Demon Hunter. I think that's probably intentional given everything going on with the Demon Hunter and the meta and all the class changes. Probably why they're showing this one. Never know. Now we have Fractured Plane returning. Most people have seen this. This is an event in which you go in, you get a default set of abilities, and there are essences, legendary essences inside of it that affect those abilities that you have, and you go forward and try to work your way through 15 floors. There are various rewards associated with it as well. Shady stock, and this is an event that's returning. This has to do with Yakin. You do some fairly easy daily quests, turn them in, and you can receive legendary items, set items. Overall, this was pretty well received the first time. Glad to see it come back. Scorched Sea limited time event, and this is the weekly type event that we see that you'll be able to log in, complete tasks over the course of the week, and get various rewards as you go. And they essentially scale up in how strong or powerful they are as you complete more of them. So balance changes being the biggest thing of this patch. Thanks all for taking the time to watch. Let me know what you think of the changes, and have a great day.